Hello and welcome back to the Two Turnout layout. Not a huge amount to report on this update. I think I know I say that every time, but life's been really busy and I've not had a chance to do quite as much as I normally would have done. Having said that, I've done a little bit of scenic work and so on, really, following on from what I showed you last time. But I was just about to do something else and I realised that I'd started to head in a bit of a direction with something that I've then questioned. And I thought, well, rather than just undo it all and make it all right, if you like, before I do an update, maybe it's worth sharing that with you, just out of interest, because it might be the sort of thing that a lot of us have come across when we're building or designing layouts. Let's go and have a look and I'll show you what I mean. So let's start off at this end of the layout, which is, if you've watched any of the previous videos, is kind of where I started as far as scenics, if you like. Now there's just the single track here, the head shunt or switching lead, and that keeps things fairly clutter-free. And that's quite a key thing because I took inspiration from a few places in real life, or at least from Google Street View. But was definitely trying to keep a fairly open and uncluttered feel to this, even though the layout's only about 12 inches or just over 12 inches in depth. And then we come to this area down the bottom. In the last video, I described a little bit about this industry at the back. This is where most of the actual switching takes place, if you like. So there's three spots here within that covered building and then a couple here, and the only other spot on the layout is at the front, and I'll show you in a moment. So I've done a little bit of sort of weathering and scenic stuff there, but not a huge amount more, but I don't intend to do a huge amount more, and added in the grass there as well, and that's okay. I don't mind that. It's not adding too much to the clutter, it's not too overwhelming. I probably need a little bit of stuff in there, whether it's a couple of vehicles or some discarded bins or whatever it may be. But then, almost as an afterthought, I added something to the front of the layout. So let me just pull back a bit. So in front of that industry, we've got the team track and this little bit of hard standing here, which is absolutely fine. But I also had this awkward little corner just here where the trains come in and out, and I thought what I'd do is put a little bit of hard standing there, and then I added this fence almost as a bit of an afterthought. And weirdly, well, let me show you. I started to run a little switching job the other evening, and on that central sort of bit of track I've parked a couple of box cars there, and it's got the shoving platform. And I just stood back and looked and thought, this is all starting to look a little bit cluttered around here now. Again, when you compare it to that kind of open space down the bottom and that feel I was after. Now, to an extent, that's probably to be expected and can't be helped, in as much as that's where the action is, if you like. That's where the cars are that I'm switching out into those spots. But I began to wonder, has this tiny bit of vertical modelling, so adding this fencing in here, created something of a visual, and I've added this little excavator digger model that I made up as well. But has that area just, it's not massively tall, it's not a big building or anything, it's not a view block, but has that done enough to the eye, if you like, when I'm looking at this area, to add to that feeling of being cluttered? And I was just about to add in the last bits of grass and I thought, I wonder if that's it. So I'm going to try and take the fence out and remove that vehicle, obviously. I mean, I know they're not huge things. Do the grass and just see whether it takes us that step back to what I was imagining in the first place. So here's that same scene with just the fence removed and the grass added, and I think that makes all the difference somehow. I feel a lot better about that. And if I just move this back in, so even with the cars there, I think that cluttered feeling that I was talking about seems to have been alleviated. So I think if I'm not quite sure what I want to do with this area yet. I think if anything, what I might do is just I've saw a picture recently where there was an area a bit like this and it just had some sort of loose piles of aggregate and ballast and stuff that people have left. So I think as long as I keep it low, that'll still achieve that aim that I'm after. While we're in this area, I ought to just briefly update on this industry at the back here. I think last time I posted this was still unpainted, so really all I've done, I managed to find some spray paint that matched the Pike Stuff buildings enough. So I was quite surprised actually how well that did kind of match in, unless you're looking too closely. So really they've just been sprayed up and painted. The industry, and thanks for some feedback, I really appreciated some of the comments. It's now TT Milling, which is the home of Bob's Fish Food. So that's what this industry do. They take in the grain and make fish food. Somebody very usefully pointed out some great sort of practical comments around this conveyor or elevator that's here, and actually in real life industries they're probably much likely to be a more vertical thing here. So I guess I have got something similar to that. So I appreciate this is probably not very prototypical, but I think, as I suggested, really what I'm after at the moment here for this kind of whole area is just something that feels okay rather than being an accurate representation. And I might revisit it in the future. So I'm feeling a little bit better now about this. Sorry about the wobble. This kind of end of the layout. The other thing, as I mentioned very briefly, was the little vehicle that I've done there, which was an old Daypole kit, which was a bit of a pig to put together, to be quite honest with you, but it's okay.